Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. I got more takeaways from the Oregon spring game we saw Saturday afternoon. And I think there's a lot of Oregon fans who've been rocking with the fellas that probably saw this one coming, right? There was no way that I was going to watch this game one time, do a little live reaction, and just like wipe my hands clean with this game. So many players that we were excited to kind of see where they're at during the spring game that watch it back a couple more times and have some more takeaways that I want to get into. Now, the overarching conversation that I want to start with is number one, you can tell that Dan Lanning has really dug his teeth into this program and has been able to recruit the kind of bodies that he wants to build this program with. This is just a bigger, stronger, faster Oregon team than we've seen in the past. Like, yes, that Oregon team in 2024 probably had a little bit more experience. Guys like Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson, guys that have played a lot of football. This Oregon team going into 2025, the body types, the athletic profiles, it's just more impressive. And I think we saw that during the spring game on Saturday. Then the second conversation is, look, there's this narrative going around on the message boards, going around on Twitter, regarding Dan Lanning not being able to develop talent, which was kind of lunacy to begin with. I don't know why we continue to talk about it. Just watch this spring game and tell me they don't develop players. I mean, you look at the development from a guy like Dylan Gresham, guy like Luke Moga at quarterback, Elijah Rushing coming off the edge, Blake Purchase, Jerry Mixon at linebacker, Amari Washington on the middle of that defensive line. Players are clearly getting better in this program year after year after year. That was the other takeaway. And that was something we were excited to see. Like, this team has a lot of talented players that haven't played a ton of football that are looking to take that next step in 2025. And I thought we saw a lot of players show that they've taken that step over the last couple of months. Want to dive back into some of the bigger storylines that we've seen before we get into it. As always, the Oregon fans, I'm sure if you're watching this on Monday, y'all probably watched the game a couple more times as well. Let it fly in the comments section. Especially with spring games where you're trying to watch both sides of the football at the same time, you're trying to watch so many different players. Y'all let it fly in the comment section. Players that stood out to you guys, players that excite you going into fall camp, going into 2025. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's start with the quarterback battle, which, look, you make no mistake about it, it's a quarterback battle. And I think Dante Moore would be my quarterback one as an outsider sitting in my basement in Rochester, New York. But Austin Overside looked great. And Luke Moga looked really good too. You talk about a player that just a massive step in the right direction in the last 12 months, Luke Moga. And go back 12 months ago, we weren't sure if this kid was going to stick at quarterback. Phenomenal athlete, wasn't the best thrower of the football yet. He's taken that step. And look, do I think Luke Moga is going to be your quarterback one in 2025? No. But are there ways you can use this kid in 2025 to enhance your offense? Because the way I look at it, like, Luke Moga might be one of the more gifted, pure athletes on this Oregon team, which I don't say lightly, because this Oregon team is full of good athletes. When you're Oregon, you're trying to win a national championship. Some of those games come down to one or two plays. Can you utilize Luke Moga? It doesn't have to be 10, 15 plays a game. Maybe it's only 2 or 3 plays a game. Maybe it's only 2 or 3 plays every couple of games. This is a guy that has the chance to be a game breaker, a difference maker. Is there a package? Is there a way you feel comfortable to use Luke Moga to enhance this offense in 2025? Because the way I look at it, especially with what we saw during the spring game, it's going to be hard to keep him off the football field because he's a guy that can do so many different things. You're talking 10-4 in the 100-meter dash, like one of the fastest players on this Oregon roster. Does Will Stein and Dan Lanning look to get him involved a little bit more? Really exciting question going into fall camp. Dante Moore and Austin Novosad, we said it after the spring game concluded, going back and rewatching it. Look, I don't think I give Austin Novosad enough credit for the arm talent this kid has. Like, when we talk about difference makers, when we talk about arm talent, like I always talk about Dante Moore, who, look, it's so clear that he is a special kid in terms of delivering the football. Austin Novosad can make high-level throws too, and I feel like I haven't emphasized that enough. Now, again, do I think Dante Moore, peak Dante Moore, does that give you the best chance to win a national championship and have an elite passing attack and offense? Yes, probably. But I don't think it's coach speak that Dante Moore and Austin Novosad both can win. I really do think they both can win national championships for this Oregon team going into 2025. You're in a good spot at the quarterback position. I still think that Dante Moore probably opens this offense up a little bit more, especially the way he can attack the boundary. Like, again, we've talked about this all offseason long, and I thought it was very clear in the spring game. The ball gets out so quick from Dante Moore, and it gets to the pass catcher so quickly. He's just got a different gear than a guy like Dylan Gabriel in terms of the velocity he can put on the football. That's big. Like, you talk about giving DeCorian Moore, giving a guy like Evan Stewart just a little bit more time to operate in space and make people miss. That's really big when you're talking about an Oregon offense that has the playmakers they do. And I thought you saw that very clearly when he's attacking the boundary. I want to talk about the offensive line. Like, on the first watch, when you sat down Saturday, watched this game live, maybe you came off with like, wait, I think Oregon's defense had 11 sacks. Oh, what's this Oregon offensive line going to look like? There was a reporter that right off the bat asked Dan Lanning about the offensive line being porous, which I thought was just such a, I don't want to use the word stupid. It was a bad evaluation of the football game. One, go watch any other spring game across the country. Now, I know many teams ain't playing them anymore, but the teams that do, when you're mixing and matching the offensive line, when you have your starting tackle working with a guard that's maybe guard 3 on the team, center 2, it's not going to be always pretty. My biggest takeaway was, yes, this Oregon defensive line was very disruptive. They affected the quarterback at a high level, which should fire up a lot of Oregon fans. When you saw the guys that we expect to be in the 2 deep or starting on this Oregon offensive line, I thought it was pretty clean. Like, I left with Alex Harkey saying, hey, we had that conversation. Is Alex Harkey able to jump up to the Big Ten level and be a starting caliber tackle? I thought he answered that question. Very similar to Isaiah World. Yes, did some of the 2s and 3s on the Oregon offensive line struggle to block a guy like Mateo? Yeah, absolutely they did. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. But when you saw the guys that we expect to be playing football for Oregon in 2025 out there on the offensive line, I thought it was pretty damn clean. Like, I actually left having more confidence in what this offensive line can be than I had going into the spring game. New look offense and wide receiver rotation. New look offense right away. This is probably what we should have started with. This is an offense that is clearly going to push the ball down the field more. I mean, we saw them take more vertical shots in that spring game on Saturday afternoon than maybe like 2 or 3 games worth of what we saw in the 2024 year. It's because, one, I think you have a quarterback that's more comfortable in doing it, right? Dylan Gabriel, look, I'm probably too critical on DG. Like, he can push the ball down the field. That's why he was an NFL draft pick. It just wasn't something that he loved to do. He was much more of a quick release out in space. You don't want to push the ball down the field. We're going to play quick release, on time and accurate, which is fine. And that Oregon offense was very good for most of the year. What we're all excited about with, Dante Moore, Austin Novosad, and these pass catchers is this is an offense that's a little bit more equipped to attack vertically down the field. And man, did we see that on Saturday afternoon. I think the other conversation is you have wide receivers that can do it too. Like Malik Benson, I kind of knocked Malik Benson down on the depth chart, and we're going to revamp this depth chart coming out of spring. And we'll probably do a separate episode just kind of, talking depth chart. Malik Benson, he can work vertically. Now he's got to catch the ball and track the ball better, which we knew was the thing you wanted to see. When he's on the field, he is a vertical threat. DeCorian Moore, very, very similar. We know what Evan Stewart can do. You have a bunch of guys who are big and really fast and can work vertically down the field. You look at this wide receiver rotation, and it's so hard to try to figure out what it's going to be. Like, I think Evan Stewart, DeCorian Moore are going to be on the football field a lot. Who's going to be wide receiver 3? I thought Gary Bryant looked really good. I thought Dylan Gresham looked freaking awesome. He's a guy we're going to talk about a little bit later on. Kyle Casper, it's a big catch radius and really strong hands. Like, he provides a skill set that there's not a ton of guys that can provide in this wide receiver. Like, there's not a ton of really big size. Kyle Casper's one of those guys. Thought he looked really good. You saw some good things from Jurion Dickey too. I think you're going to see more rotation. Like I just think that last year it was Trayshawn, Tez, and Evan Stewart, and that was about it. I mean, there's 6, 7 guys that I feel like you have to try to get on the football field, and maybe as the season goes on, you start to whittle it down and start to figure out who are the best wide receivers. But I think it's a good problem to have. I'm a Michigan fan. I don't even know if we have 3 difference makers at the wide receiver position. If you're Oregon, I feel like you got 6, 7 guys that you trust. This is what I wanted to dive into more. Like guys we need to talk about more. I feel like when we did our initial reaction on Saturday, it was just like the Corey and Moore, Kenny and Sadiq, Mateo U. And look, they're some of the best players in college football. Like that's not a shot at those guys. It's like there's some other players on this football team that we probably have to talk about a little bit more. Dylan Gresham. And what the thing with Dylan Gresham and why nobody has really talked about him, heck, he wasn't even on my depth chart 2 days ago before the game. He's not the biggest. He's not the fastest. But go back to this kid coming out of high school. I mean, he was one of the more productive wide receivers that you saw in the entire country in the state of California. Junior year, caught for over 2,000 yards. This is a wide receiver that knows what he's doing. And then you start looking at, all right, well, who are the wide receivers that are some of the best at the college level and NFL level? It's the wide receivers that know how to run routes, that know how to create separation, that can catch in traffic. Dylan Gresham, he checks all of those boxes. He might not be as flashy as a guy like DeCorian Moore who runs a 10-4 and makes incredible catches. But man, is he just a wide receiver that knows what he's doing, knows how to tempo his routes, knows how to create separation. He's going to play, I think. And again, I think we were kind of sleeping on him because you didn't see a ton from him as a freshman and wasn't necessarily the biggest name coming out of high school. Fire me up for Dylan Gresham taking that step and really cracking into the rotation in the 2025 year. Blake Purchase on defense. You saw a couple of guys take the step. We knew heading into 2025, Mateo, Tatum, those are 2 guys that could be top 20 picks. Like certainly Mateo U. I think Tatum can be a first-round NFL draft pick too, like one of the more underrated players in all of college football. We knew those 2 edge rushers, arguably the best duo in the country. The conversation was, all right, we want to be a little bit more deep on the defensive line than we were in 2024. Who's going to step up and be the guys that provide valuable depth? When Mateo U and Blake or Tatum Tuioti are on the sideline, making sure they're staying fresh for 4 quarters. Who's coming in and making a difference? Like to me, that was Blake Purchase. Blake Purchase, a little bit different style than a guy like Mateo U and Tatum. Mateo U and Tatum are like just heavy hands, physically overwhelming tackles. Man, Blake Purchase, his ability to be a Ferrari off the line of scrimmage and just test tackles on the outside shoulder, kind of a little bit more of a speed rush kind of guy. It is there. And maybe it wasn't the step we expected from Blake Purchase in 2024. I think you're seeing that step in 2025. Same thing for Elijah Rushing, who I think is arguably the most gifted pass rusher on this football team. And then the same thing for a guy like Ashton Porter, who I don't know if he's going to be the sack artist that a guy like Blake Purchase or Elijah Rushing can be. Ashton Porter was probably the most productive football player on the field for Oregon in the spring game. The dude was everywhere. Plays with an extremely good motor, always around the football, getting involved in the run game. Like Ashton Porter, from what I saw in the spring game, he's going to be hard to keep off the football field as well. The depth on this defensive line is in a different stratosphere than it has been over the last couple of years. Another guy, Jerry Mixon, a linebacker. To the Oregon fans, Dan Lanning I don't think Dan Lanning listens to the boys. I wish he does, but I don't think he does. But it sounded like he was listening because we spent some time talking about, hey, where's that position that maybe is a national championship caliber? And my take was the linebackers. They shot me up on Saturday. Like I thought Jerry Mixon looked very good. I thought Braden Platt looked very good. Like, look, we know what Bryce Betcher and Devin Jackson are. Dylan Williams from Cal Poly into the 2024 class. I thought he looked very good. This Oregon linebacker room has some dudes that I thought were flying around the football and finding the football at a very high level. That excited me a lot too. Last name, I want to shout out Trey McNutt, a guy that I feel like is just getting slept on, like one of my favorite true freshmen coming in. And you look at Trey McNutt, the thing that I want to emphasize here is he is physically ready to play in the Big Ten. He is, arguably the most impressive body type that Oregon has in the safety room. You talk about Oregon just probably not having enough athleticism in the safety room last year with guys like Kobe Savage and Tashim Johnson, completely changed. Whether it's Kingston Lopa, whether it's Aaron Flowers, it's certainly there with Dylan Tiemann. We know Dylan Tiemann did not play a ton. When he was on the football field, that's this classic Dylan Tiemann from Purdue that we saw the last 2 years. He is just always around the football in the right spot at the right time, understands the sport of football just about as good as anybody across the country. Then the question is, all right, who's going to start opposite Dylan Tiemann? And I thought Trey McNutt made a very good case that he can be the guy. I don't know how you can leave the spring game. And as somebody who's watched so many spring games over the last couple of years, it's not hyperbolic. I thought it was one of the more impressive spring games that I've seen. Like, it's just the body types feel different. The depth of this team's really good at some things to clean up, picking up some blitzes, and you had some pre-snap penalties, but it was really good. I think you have to leave the spring game having a lot of confidence in where this Oregon team sits. We entered spring saying we have a lot of talent. We need them to step up and become good football players. From what we saw, and I get it was just one game, one spring game. I think you left saying that, yeah, we got the young talent has taken the step they need to going into 2025. I think this will be the last episode, but I'm having so much fun watching these games back all the time. Like, I might fire another one up and just talk about some more players. Jericho Johnson, that's another guy I thought played pretty well on the inside of the defensive line. All right, we'll be done. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.